woodchuck wagon, stew, and her name is Minerva. She's the flower of the flower.
I need a dog stun gun. Not that I would use it. Anyway, welcome everybody. It is Aaron live. It is October 27th, 2024. Holy smokes. Yeah. Getting older, that's for sure. I don't know. Imagine what it's like around here on Halloween. I'm just saying, imagine what it's like. Where was I? Oh, I don't know that I've ever been less prepared to do this show than I am right now. Well, maybe not prepared in the sense I am prepared. I mean, I put the show together last night, but usually I like to sit down about 10 minutes before and kind of get everything organized. And I was fed the dog. I ran back up here like, oh my gosh, it's almost 3:30 and boom, here I am. So I have, I do not have a prepared statement. Not that I ever do. But I guess the best thing we can do at this point is see who's here and move on from there. Creative Faye is here. Says YouTube deleted my original message. Hi, Aaron and Shelley. Looks like another great show. Boy, another great show. I'd be happy if it was the first great show, but thank you for your optimism. Repairman Jack, Ahoy Lopez's, give Shelley my best wishes. I know she can handle her adversity because she's a tough cookie. Indeed, she is. Creative Faces, I was looking through my 2 Man-Thing omnibuses, just looking at the artists, and Aaron got to say you draw the best Man-Thing. Marvel should have put you on the run. You know, I had a chance to do Man-Thing, and the story they gave me was disgusting. And so I didn't want to draw it. So I turned it down. And so my one chance to draw Man-Thing went out the window. I will say Arthur Adams probably draws the best Man-Thing. His Man-Thing's pretty good. So I'm saying Art Adams has a great Man-Thing. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, but maybe I'm second. I don't know. Plug did a pretty good job too. Frank Bruner did a nice job on. See, there's a lot of good Man-Thing artists out there, but I do appreciate it, Creative Fate. Let's see. Mark Pengrin's here. I did put it up early. I try to get my show together the night before because there's so many little bits that I do that I've got to do prep work for every single one of them and put the intros together and all that kind of stuff. And it takes literally a couple hours sometimes, especially trying to find Bigfoot or cryptid videos that we haven't seen already. So it actually takes me longer to put this show together than it actually runs. So it's like, I got to figure out a new format where I can just like sleep in front of the camera. That's kind of what I'm going for, I think, in the future. Stealth X5 is here. Repairman Jack says, keep your head up, Aaron. Cornhuskers are getting better. Maybe 10 wins next year, I'm hoping. Yeah, we're hoping for 7 this year. It's going to depend on if they can take care of UCLA, which they should be able to. But next week they'll be on their way to probably 7 wins for this season. So I would be happy with that. That would be a vast improvement over the last 7 years. So Barbara Paulson's here. Bretsky the Great. Randy Howell. Wraith of God is so close to 60K. It is, and that's the next stretch goal. So if you haven't backed Wraith of God, well, we'll get into that in a minute. LE, the Final Metamorphosis, says, what a lineup at the Trump Madison Square Garden. This is the best stuff I've ever seen. Very cool. I've already voted, because in Oregon here, everything is mail-in balloting. You don't go to the polls anymore. So in other words, the Democrats have set it up so they can cheat forever in Oregon and own Oregon. I don't think there's been a Republican in a major office in Oregon since the 70s. It's pretty sad, actually. But anyway, Daniel Russell's here. Bill Maxwell. Angela Chocolates Curry is joining us. The Canuck, I assume all the way from Canada. Citizen Ronan joining us. Sequential Treasures. Compelling Bigfoot videos. How? In believability or in cringe? It makes a difference. Well, I'm not promising anything. They are compelling. Actually, I just put that on there because I thought that's a nice adjective, compelling. Duck Bacon is here. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. And let's see here. Ronan is joining us. Fox Mulder. Who else is in there? Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is in the chat. Let's see. Show me comics. I'll show you comics, all right. I'll show you so much comics you'll say, stop showing me comics. GJ Martinez is joining us. Sean Willits. Geek Avengers here. Yeah, let's see. Matthew Muma is joining us. Cheapo Comics is here. I prefer expensive comics. Did I use that joke already? Probably. I'll probably continue to use it too. A lot of conversation going on here, but between everybody I've already mentioned. John Durham, thanks for joining us, John. Yeah, let's see here. Flady1, just finished my Kit Carter package yesterday. Great stuff. Thank you, Flady. Geek for 5, thank you very much. I keep coming here expecting Aaron to become Aaron the White instead of Aaron the Gray, kind of like Gandalf. I don't really have a clever response to that. If I had long hair, maybe I'd do it. Let's see here. If I had any hair at all. JDC, love Kit Carter, he says. Thank you, JDC. Appreciate it. Connect says, I still wait on my Kit Carter. I got the hardcover, so I know it will be a bit late. Yeah. Randy Howell does have his Kit Carter, but may not be able to sit down and read it till later tonight. Okay, that's all right. Reviews are coming in very, very strong on it, which makes me very happy. So I'm glad that the people that have read it seem to really like it. And there I am. Aaron the Bald. I can't argue with that. Seeing Esther's calf in Wraith of God 2 is pretty scandalous. Did I show her calf? I may have. That vampire was getting a little grabby with her. Okay. So let's get things rolling with a little, I'm not going to say public service announcement, but a little advertisement, if you don't mind, because it's what I got to do. When you got a live campaign, man, you got to, there it is. You got to sell it. So here we are. Look at that. Let me refresh this and see exactly where we're at. $59,698. So we're basically $302 away from $60,000 and our next stretch goal. We'll take a look at that in a second here. What am I pushing on you? I'm pushing on you. Wraith of God 3. This is the 3rd graphic novel for Wraith of God. It's called Fear Hollow. It's a simple story. It sounds simple, but it's actually very complex. The Wraith and Esther journey to Cranestown in New England. It's a made-up place. To challenge a horror from his past, the Headless Horseman, the evil that menaced the Wraith 20 years earlier, has returned with a vengeance. But is there more to this showdown than meets the eye? Will the fear that shaped his destiny ultimately destroy their lives? Wraith of God 3 is not to be missed. Indeed, it is not. So we got a witch in there. We got a mysterious villain, who's another character from the Wraith's past. We get a little bit. We get some pre-origin. Would you call it his stuff from his youth? So there's some interesting stuff going on here. So you want to get this for some more compelling Wraith backstory, as well as, I'm telling you, this story is a nail biter. You'll love it. So we have 4 cover options. This is cover A. This is the EC cover, tribute cover, made to look like an old EC comic from the 50s. This is made to look like the 1972 box covers that Marvel was doing, only in 1972. But they're my favorite. And so I keep ripping them off. Although this isn't a rip off of any particular one. It's my own version, but I am ripping off the trade dress and the layout of the cover, not the art. And then, of course, you can get the wonderful Chris Stevens painted cover. Or you can get all 4, which I would highly recommend, in our 4-pack plus right there. This is, I got to get some art up from the actual Wraith of God story, because this is the backup story by David Williams and me. I wrote it. David, of course, drew it, and his son colored it. How about that? And this is a stretch goal. So we hit 100K, which looks like it's going to be a little more work than previous campaigns have been to get there. But I have faith we'll get there eventually. And then this will be added free of charge into the book. So you want to spread the word, and let's get this, get these stretch goals met. Of course, the first one at 40,000 is unlocked. That's a little Prestiverse retro editorial page with character value stamp added to the book, which you guys, those of you who backed the first 2 Wraith of Gods will recognize it, because this has been a stretch goal on both the books that has been met. And this one will be no exception. You will get the editorial page with the character value stamp, which probably will be Garbage Man, but you never know. At 60, every backer receives an all-new sculpture. That is the female character made of stone from the nightclub story that you may remember from either the Garbage Man trade paperback or Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which is also Wraith of God 2. If we get to 80, we better get to 80. We'll do Trunk. That's the elephant guy from the nightclub. And then at 100, we get David's backup story. And then if we roll and get to 125, now all the previous campaigns have got to over 150. So we are considerably behind those at this point. Is it interest in the character is waning? Is it Joe Biden's economy? Hard to say, but we'll find out when we get to the end of the line and see where we're at. But anyway, you can also get the Wraith Nouveau print, which is limited to 500 copies. That's very nice. Comes signed and numbered. Wraith of God Roughs, that's also 11 by 17, so it will ship in a poster tube. Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3, that is 48 pages of page layouts from Wraith of God 3. So if you like the behind-the-scenes type stuff, this is the book for you. And it comes signed and numbered as well. There's I only print a little bit over on these to make sure that if there's any damaged books that I've got enough to cover the orders. But basically we print to order on this. So there isn't extra copies of this floating around, or there won't be. The 4th shot glass in a series of 6. That is, we did Wraith of God, we did the Garbage Man, we did Kit Carter, and the Nightclub now is the 4th out of 6. These are laser etched. They're all going to be in a set, obviously, of Empire Comics characters. Maybe I'll make the last shot glass will be like Empire Comics. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So anyway, there we go. You can get clay poker chips. We got 3 of them here for $15. This commemorative set with Wraith, Esther, and the Keown Werewolf there. And if you need to catch up, you can get Wraith of God 1 second printing or Wraith of God 2 with the wraparound cover. That is the first printing. And I also have the other printings available, or the other covers available on my website, but they are a little bit more money than on the campaign. So there you go. I will be putting up more original art at some point, probably before the end of this, the final closeout here, which is in 14 days, 2 weeks. So there you go. There's Henry Thrun joining us, or Thrun. Is it Henry Thrun? I'm going to say Thrun, but it's probably Thrun, isn't it? Okay. More original art than I already posted on here. I got some trading card art, and I've got a page I'm not done with yet that's going to be the title page art. So there's some stuff coming. The Canuck got the 4-pack, shot glass, and poker chips. You can't do better than that, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Probably. I don't like doing, I don't like running 2 campaigns at once. I'm sure there's some of that. I would be reluctant, even though we've got half of the orders are already filled. So it's not like we're not reliable, but I'm sure there's some trepidation with people, and I don't blame them. Geek Avenger for 5. Don't do the closeout until after the election. I expect a spike in the economy and the stock market if we get the commies out of the White House. I agree. I think if there's no cheating and Trump wins, I think that'll boost people's financial morale almost immediately. So there you go. All righty. Okay. So anyway, there's Andy Smith. Dennis and I are driving back from the con, so entertain us. Boy, you came to the wrong show if you want entertainment. All righty. So there is my commercial. I'll maybe do another one later in the show, but that's pretty much it. You'll find the link to this campaign in the description of this video, along with my website. So if you want to go there and check out all the goodies that are on my website, you can do that as well. I'm going to get gosh darn it, I got to get the other shot glasses up on my website, the Wraith of God and the Garbage Man shot glasses. I have extras and they need to go up on the website. I just have not got them up there. Oh, I never assume anything. I'm just being hopeful. If people don't vote, I'm not going to win. In fact, we may lose even if people do vote. So anyway, but enough about politics for the moment. Let's do a quick public service announcement if you don't mind. And even if you do mind, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. That's right. We finally got over 4,000 subs on this channel. Let's keep it going to 5. Let's keep it going, man. So yeah, if you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel, please do so. It's free and it's relatively painless. But now let's see what's in the old snack bar.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I was at Trader Joe's yesterday, so I picked up the sea salt brownie bites. I ate 2 of them yesterday, so I kind of cheated. But that's what I'm having today. They're small, they're delicious, and chocolate's good for you. So there's nothing about these that makes me feel remotely like bad. Oh, there's a dog back there about eating this. So we'll just take one, not to be a pig. Good stuff. Only 90 calories. That's probably a lot for something this small, but sounds okay. Well, while I eat this, because you're never supposed to eat anything on camera, right? Let's take a look at our frizzetta. Where is it? Our frizzetta of the day. As we continue to look at Frank's Brack the Barbarian illustrations. Here we go. Even though we got the back of the hero, Brack the Barbarian, on this cover, I still like that painting a lot. I like the horse. Now, someone like John Malin might argue that that horse was too small. But I would never criticize a Frazetta horse. Darren Wagner says Frank Frazetta is greater than Boris Vallejo. And yes, he is. Although I do like Boris's earlier stuff. When he got into the 80s, he was using too many bodybuilders and was too, how shall we say, dependent on photographs. And I thought his paintings got stiff and unimaginative. But his stuff in the 70s, like the stuff he was doing for Marvel, like on Monsters Unleashed. And one of my favorite pieces he ever did was from the Edgar Rice Burroughs book, I Am a Barbarian. Love that one. And then his Gore book covers I thought were great as well. But that was all in the 70s. Once he got into the 80s and started really getting into bodybuilding. And so like all of his models were like these overly jacked characters. And they were, and again, he literally would transfer photographs onto the board and paint them. So they were very stiff. A lot of his stuff was very stiff, where it didn't used to be that way. So, but who am I to criticize someone way more successful and talented than I am? But anyway, that's just my feelings. Much bigger Frazetta fan. So I was having a conversation with Graham Nolan about, what he uses for inspiration. Because sometimes, we go through these, we do a project, get it all shipped out, and you're just kind of burnt. You're like, God, I need a break. And right now I'm still shipping Kit Carter and trying to work on, so I haven't really had that break and trying to work on Wraith 3, but I haven't really had that sort of break in there. Although I haven't done a ton of drawing recently because I've been spending most of my free time shipping. But he was like, yeah, I'm going to read some comics, get some inspiration. Now I used to look at like Wrights and art and Frazetta art and to get inspiration. I didn't necessarily read comics to get inspiration, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the old, the Graham Nolan method. And I saw this sitting up here on my desk, or no, pardon me, my bookshelf, along with the graphic novels. And I realized I had never read this. So I read it last night. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's signed by Stephen Grant and Zek, and I have no idea how it got signed, where I got this. I don't remember asking these guys to sign it, but that doesn't mean I didn't. But I just do not remember. So anyway, I kind of read, look at that great splash page by Zek. Oh, that Punisher close-up. This is kind of like a Denzel Washington crime movie with just Frank Castle in it. So it's, and the Punisher's that way. It's not really a superhero book. So a lot of drug dealers and, old army guys and revenge and all that kind of stuff. And I'll say this, for a Punisher book, if you're into the Punisher, if you're into that kind of thing, it's pretty good. But I wouldn't say it necessarily really inspired me for what I'm doing. But I had never read it. So I thought, when was this published? How long have I had this thing? Let's see here. Published in 1989. Okay. So this is what, 20, 30, 34 years old, 35 years old, 35 years old. I'm just now getting around to reading it. So there you go. Nice hardcover though. Nice Zek cover. Zek and Beatty, John Beatty, who occasionally will show up in the chat on this show and the Graybeards. Did you ever read, Paul Taylor wants to know, did you ever read the first appearance of the Punisher in Old Spider-Man? It had the tarantula in it. That was the first Spidey I ever bought. Actually, you're wrong. The tarantula didn't show up till 134. Was it 135? I think it was 135 that had the tarantula and the Punisher both in it. But I don't think the Punisher was in 129, which is Amazing Spider-Man 129, which is the Punisher's first appearance. I don't think the tarantula was in that one. Because I'm pretty sure his first appearance was 134. So you may be thinking about Amazing Spider-Man 135. But the thing about it is, yes, I did read those because I was a rabid Spider-Man collector and reader. Let me bring this up real quick. So my gut, Paul, is telling me that you're thinking about this book right here, right? Well, that would have been 134, the one you're describing. Let me think here. Maybe the Punisher was in that issue too. Now it's a cop shooting at him. Yeah. So 134 is the first appearance. There it is. So 134 is the first appearance of the tarantula. 129 is the first appearance of the Punisher. So it says extra, don't miss the shocking return of a surprise supervillain in this issue's startling last panel. So that's the Punisher, obviously, he's referring to. Shows up in the last panel, I guess, of 134. And then, of course, he's in there 135 with the tarantula and his pointy-toed boots. Great stuff. It was the only, that looks like, that's definitely Romita inking. I can't tell. Is that Gil Kane that drew that? Or is that Romita all the way? I know who will know. Marcus Kilgrew will know. Looks like Romita all the way. There's Louis Brightraven is here. So he says, does that mean I'm supposed to get around to reading Wraith of God 2 and Kit Carter in 2059? Pretty much. Paul's confused. It's all coming back to him, but not clearly. Not clearly. I'm hardcore Spider-Man, man. You're not going to slip anything by me. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. Just toss it out there. And so what have I got lined up for this show? I don't even remember. Oh, since we're talking about comics, let's get right into this, shall we? Yeah. All right. Excuse me. Excuse me. There was, here's the thing. The 70s were my stomping grounds as a wee lad reading comics for the first time. So it's really hard to pick just my 5 top comics from the 70s. Now, again, this isn't based on value or anything like that. So, first appearance of Wolverine or Giant Size X-Men #1, if they weren't books that meant something to me in the 70s when I was reading them, they're not on the list. But there's too many just to pick 5. So I want to do a couple of honorable mentions, I guess. I don't have an honorable mention queue, but so anyway, here we go. Before we get into the meat of it, let's take a look at some of my honorable mentions. Now, this almost made the top 5. Howard the Duck #1 by Frank Bruner, written by Steve Gerber. Spider-Man crossover, ironically. This was The Thing. This is 1976, if memory serves. Everybody was talking about Howard the Duck because it was like a funny animal comic as a superhero comic, right? Something that you would not expect from Marvel or necessarily from DC. Although it wasn't too much after this, or was it right before it that DC came out with Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew, which I thought was really dumb. But this I really liked because Gerber always had some sort of social satire or something that he was bringing to the stories. So it wasn't just goofy, funny animal hijinks. It was very strange, but us kids loved it. We thought this was The Thing. It was a low distribution book. The first 2 issues were low distribution, and we didn't get them on the racks out here in Beaverton, Oregon. We didn't get them. We got the main books at 7-Eleven, but like things that were low distribution did not. So we would have to hunt these down at like old bookstore, old comic shops, and they were already selling. Now you have to remember. Now this $3.99 up here that's a reprint, but the original was 25 cents. Okay. So we were used to getting 4 comics for $1. People were asking like between $6 and $10 for the first issue of this book, like right after it came out. So it was very difficult for a kid my age. I was 12, I think, when this came out, to go drop, even $6, $5 or $6 on a book like this. So it was years before I actually ever got one. But one of my friends did have one, so I was able to read it. Another one that sort of made the almost list. It's Giant Size Avengers #2. Why? Why would I pick this? Because the death of an Avenger. This is the first comic book that I can recall reading where a hero actually died in the comic. Spoiler alert, it was the Swordsman. And it was really this kind of sad moment because if you'd been reading Avengers, he was like vying for the affections of Mantis, right? But Mantis was like sort of going for acted like she was interested in the Vision. But the Scarlet Witch was interested in the Vision. It's like, how would you like to be an android and have all the chicks you could possibly, want? I mean, it was a robot. It was just like, it was just weird. But anyway, so when Swordsman sacrificed himself and died and was laid there dying, Mantis came and took him in her arms as she kneeled down and she was saying, "But I really truly love you." And he's like, "Bleh," and he died. It was really, for 12-year-old Aaron, pretty heartbreaking, actually. So I remember this book very, very well. I don't have a copy and I want to get a copy, but because the Swordsman actually dies in it, it's kind of expensive. And by kind of expensive, I mean over $100. I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't want to spend $100 on this. So I haven't talked myself into it yet. Let me give you one more here. I was a fan of the Defenders, and I don't know that a lot of people were, but I was. And this is a great Neil Adams cover. I think Don Heck did the inside. But yeah, so Marvel feature number 1, which I believe is 1972. But yeah, so you got Neil Adams, Hulk, and Submariner, and Doctor Strange. Like, what a crazy team. I mean, Hulk and Submariner were just like probably punching each other all the time. And Doctor Strange trying to keep them at bay. Just crazy. It was one of those, the Avengers, they just sort of, they took all the available heroes, put them in a team. The Hulk left, of course, because who can control the Hulk? And then in the 70s, they started putting together superhero teams like the Defenders, like, okay, who's left? It's not part of a team. Well, Doctor Strange, and then they did the Champions, like in 1977, I think, which was the weirdest. It had Hercules, Ghost Rider, the Angel, Iceman before he was gay, and Black Widow. You're like, what? But I bought that too, just because, it's the first issue. But this, I do have a copy of this, and I'm very fond of it. So there you go. But they did not make the top 5, which is crazy. But here we go. Here's my top 5 from the 70s. Number 5. I was moving these around, and I'm not even sure they're in the right order, but these are my top 5. Okay, now this might sound weird, but I love this comic. I love the Weird World. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, but that's okay. You got a couple of elves. There's like magic. And I've always been a fan of this sort of fantasy stuff, more so than superhero stuff. I always liked the barbarian books, and I like the fantasy stuff. And this had Plug. The story was drawn by Mike Plug, inked by Alex Nino. You want to talk about a bizarre combination. Now, this is a Rudy Nebres cover. And when they did the color ones, the Marvel Super Specials with the Weird World stories in it, that was Buscema, inked by Nebres. Now, I have an original page from that. I also have an original page from this comic. That's how much I love it. In fact, I ripped it off in a creative writing class my sophomore year in high school. So this was 78, I believe. And here, let me give you a quote from that I'll never forget, from Harlan Ellison. There's swearing in it. So let me see. How can I do this quote? So he said, this is almost verbatim if I remember it. It was in the Buyer's Guide, the newspaper, the weekly newspaper that came out and then advertised comics and different things like that. And there was this quote in there because they're promoting something about Harlan Ellison. There was a book about him or something. I can't remember. And he said, and I quote, he said, "Weird World is a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, and Tolkien was an imbecile, shit." So that was Harlan Ellison's feeling on this, and apparently Lord of the Rings as well. Louis Brightraven says late 1977. Okay, so I was in the ballpark. Yeah, you think I'm grumpy? Harlan was grumpy. Anyway, so there you go. There's a classic quote for Harlan Ellison about my number 5 comic from that period of time. Okay, number 4. This book, I'm so ticked off. This is the first comic I ever got. I mean, the very, 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 very first comic. I've told the story many times. We were on vacation, and those are back in the days when we drove places in our car. We did not fly. Flying was for the rich folk. So my mom got me a couple comic books. We were stopped at a grocery store. I don't remember where we were at. And they had this big, they didn't have a spiral spinner rack. They had those wooden magazine, display racks. And so they had all the comics were in there. So you could pretty much see them really, really well. And I looked through all the comics and other comics, and I picked this one because it had two big monsters fighting. I had no idea who these guys were. And then I picked up Amazing Adventures number 8, which Thor versus Black Bolt with a Neil Adams cover, just because the art was so spectacular. So I picked this one up, and then Amazing Adventures. This one I read to death. Loved it. Of course, the thing gets clobbered by the Hulk in the last panel on this issue, and you think the thing is dead. And it took me years to find out later that he wasn't dead, because I never got the follow-up. I didn't start reading comics. This was 1971. And I didn't start, and I was 6 or 7. And I didn't really start buying comics on my own until 73, late 73. And so, and I never really got into the Fantastic Four, so I never knew what happened to him. And I thought he was dead. But anyway, so I love this. It has a special place in my heart. So anyway, I bought a copy of this, just kind of a reader copy. It was a mid-grade copy, at a convention in Denver years ago. And because I didn't have one, I thought, well, this is my first comic. I should, have a copy of it. Well, I got it home. I looked fairly decent. I got it home, and the staple was loose, the lower staple on the cover. So I was furious. And then I never got around to buying another one. And then just about pre-COVID, this thing exploded. Now to get a near mint copy of this book, it's like $1,700, which I won't pay it. So I do have my one copy that I bought, but it covers detached, the lower staples, which kind of pisses me off. But what are you going to do? But this, I remember some pages from this book. Like this is the splash page. And Buscema on the inside, so it's just great stuff. Inked by Joe Sinnott, which made it really kind of slick and superhero-y looking. I just loved this book. I mean, because it's just a brawl the whole issue. We cut away to read, trying to, figure out something to stop the Hulk. And Johnny's like, no, we got to go help Ben, and Reed won't let him, And then, of course, when he dies at the end, it's like, or we think he's dead, that, Reed's like, oh, it's my fault, which it clearly was. Look at this page here. I remember this one. So you got Hulk versus Thing. So the Thing is going to hit him with a tree, but then the Hulk punches through it. So then the Thing like takes the broken up stump and like he's like shoving it down his throat. But then the Hulk punches his way through it. And then you get this nice shot here where the Thing punches the Hulk in the face. Ain't you got no respect for nature? And he says, what's keeping you up? That sock would have flattened an army. And the Hulk says, the longer I fight, the stronger I get. So, of course, the Hulk, the madder he gets, the stronger he gets. The longer he fights, the stronger he gets. The whole thing. So the Thing always, you got to give him credit. The Thing always wants to fight the Hulk. He has no chance of beating him. But he always gets in there and brawls with him. So but there's some great pages in this. It's a great story. I may read this with my loose cover edition. I might just read this tonight. Seems like something I should do. Okay. How about number 3? The Canuck says, a couple of years ago, I saw a 10. Wow. Of Conan the Barbarian #1 for $1,000. I should have sold off that kidney. Yeah, you probably should have. I do have a nice near mint copy. It's ungraded, but it's probably around a 9.4-ish. So I'm satisfied. But speaking of barbarians, let's take the most unpopular barbarian, Cole the Conqueror, Oh my gosh, that I love this book. I still love it. In fact, I went and bought Dark Horse when they had the rights, the Robert E. Howard stuff. They did collections of Conan and Kull. And I bought all the collections of the Marvels, Barry Smith stuff of Conan, and then all the collection of Kull, which was Marie inked by John Severin. It's just fantastic. Except for the first issue, which is drawn by Ross Andrew and inked by Wally Wood and is spectacular. Now, this is my favorite barbarian story arc. And I've said this before because he's a barbarian, but he's also a king. And so he has responsibilities. He can't just be a barbarian. He has responsibility to his people. And he's noble. And he cares about his job as the king. And so it gives a dynamic that Conan never had. Conan was just a thief. And, he got in some great adventures. But I love that character of the barbarian king, which Conan eventually became. But this is where Kull... And this is in Atlantis before it sunk. So it was a long time ago. So anyway, I love this book. In fact, I went through a John Severin stage where I was copying John Severin, the way he drew and inked, because I love this so much. But here's a page from the first issue. If you haven't read this, you need to pick this up. It's not that expensive. Or get the collection, but you probably get the first issue a near mint copy of the first issue is like $120, like a 9.4 or a 9.6. So you could get like a reader copy of this probably for $15. But this is all Ross Andrew inked by, Wally Wood. And it's like, look at the work he put into this. This issue is one of my all-time. Obviously I picked it, but I just love it. The artwork in it and the story in it is fantastic. So if you like barbarian stuff, I highly recommend King Kull. Now, when Thulsa Doom took his crown away from him and he became just a Kull the Barbarian, I was like, I didn't care anymore because the elements that I love so much about the character were now gone. Ben Sabar, voice actor. Yes, you need to pick it up. I'm telling you. And Dark Horse does have collections of it. I don't know how expensive they are because I don't know what the print run. They were several years ago, like in the 90s, so I don't know if those are expensive or not. I know a couple of the Conan ones are kind of expensive. But if you look on Amazon or eBay, you can find the collection of the Kull collection. And I don't think it's too bad, but don't quote me on that. All right. Number 2. Did my voice just crack? Number 2. This shouldn't come as a shock to too many people because I know you're all going, well, when's Wrightson getting in here? Well, there he is. Swamp Thing. I could take any of the first 10 issues of Swamp Thing, the Wrightson issues, and put them on this list. But I'll just take the number 1 as the origin story, of course. Now, Wrightson did a bog monster story in House of Mystery number 193, which I happen to have a 9.4 slabbed copy of, which is his very first swamp monster story. Then House of Secrets 92 has the very first appearance of Swamp Thing. And we get kind of a truncated origin story and just kind of a little setup. And then they went ahead and did the regular series here, 1972, where they expanded everything and he got his own series and the rest is history. But this, of course, made Wrightson a superstar in the comic book field. Great writing by Len Wein. Really enjoyed these first 10 issues. Really, really enjoyed these first 10 issues of Swamp Thing. I enjoy drawing Man-Thing more than Swamp Thing, but I enjoy reading Swamp Thing more than I enjoy reading Man-Thing. It's a strange thing, but it is true. Darren Wagner for $2. Thank you, Darren. He says, Wrightson Swamp Thing is the best Swamp Thing. Indeed, it is. However, let's not overlook Nestor Redondo's work on Swamp Thing after Wrightson. It's really excellent. It's just he followed Wrightson, so it's like everybody sort of forgets. But it really was, he did a really nice job. But it's not quite as spectacular as Wrightson. Randy Hall says, Aaron, don't you mean that your favorite? Well, my favorite modern barbarian story, of course, is Andy Smith's and Dennis Turner's Kordrath, The Reckoning. Previously, Kordrath, The Awakening. Now, I will say that there is some adult material in there that, I have to talk to Andy about cleaning it up a little bit. But if you like adult barbarian action, you can't go wrong with Kordrath. And it's a live campaign right now on Indiegogo. So if you haven't backed Kordrath The Reckoning, please consider doing so for our good friend Andy. And who is on his way home right now from a convention. Paul Taylor says, female nudity is what makes it awesome. And he's in the car with Dennis too, I believe. So didn't he say that? So yeah, so Dennis, and they're listening right now, and they want you to back. So do us all a favor and back that adult barbarian book. I don't remember reading. I'm not a huge Conan fan, I have to admit. I do have all the Barry Smith issues, and I do have some select Buscema issues. And I did pick up some Ron Garney stuff when when Marvel got the license again and relaunched it, because I thought Ron's stuff was pretty good in it. And the new stuff that they're doing, Titan's doing, I guess, or is distributing anyway. Those are really good. Have a classic Buscema kind of feel to it. Jim Zub, I believe. Yeah, Jim Zub, that's right. I met him at San Diego for the first time this year. Very nice guy. Those are really good too. So anyway. Oh, Paul Taylor says he thinks Chuck just wrote some. Oh, that's cool. If I read, I would jump all over that. I only look at pictures though. That's my problem. Okay. Number one. Talking about being emotionally compromised. Oh my gosh. I loved Gwen Stacy. I wanted Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy to get married. They were the perfect couple. She was the good girl. Mary Jane was the bad girl. I, of course, being a fairly decent young man, liked the good girl and thought, this is it for Peter. And they killed her. Oh, I was devastated. And then they tried to bring her back like 20 issues later as a clone. And I kind of got excited for that. Oh, Gwen Stacy's back. Then I found out it really wasn't Gwen Stacy. And so this was a devastating issue for me. Now, of course, the Green Goblin was also my favorite villain. But now you just hate him because he killed Gwen Stacy. But then he gets killed. And it's like, are you kidding me? You don't kill the Green Goblin. And you certainly don't kill Gwen Stacy. They killed them both. I was outraged. I went to a seminar. I've told this story before. I went to a seminar at USC. Stan Lee was there speaking. And so I went to go see him speak. And I asked the question. I go, why'd you kill Gwen Stacy? And he blamed it all on Jerry Conway. He said, hey, I wasn't even in the country. I was in Europe. I come back. And I found out they killed Gwen Stacy. So, he was passing the buck. Who knows if it's true or not, but it was Stan the man. So I believed what Stan said. So yeah, this was kind of tragic. And I understand that like the hero, and this is kind of, I think, where Marvel went wrong is when they had Mary Jane and Spider-Man get married. It just changes the whole dynamic of a superhero. That's why they can't ever have successful romances. Like the $6 Million Man and Jamie Summers. It just didn't work out because they couldn't have the $6 Million Man tied down to the Bionic Woman, right? They had to be going their separate ways. So I kind of get the fact that Would it have been more painful to have them break up and have her live or have her get killed? I don't know, because we wanted them to get together and it just didn't happen. So it's tragic, at least for me. And so anyway, there you go. Young Aaron Lopresti remembers my saddest comic, and yet in some ways the most impactful one I ever read, Spider-Man 121. Now I almost put Spider-Man 136 on here, which is the Return of the Green Goblin, where Harry Osborn becomes a Green Goblin. Those were great 2 issues. But I can only pick 5. And so there you go. There are my top 5 all the way. Well, good for Lee Majors. But that's probably not why they didn't get them together. If you remember, I believe it was the pilot for the 6 million or the Bionic Woman, right? So she's like romantically involved with Steve Summers, and she gets injured. Her chute doesn't open in a parachuting accident, which is exactly why you should never parachute, Billy Tucci. And so she's, critically injured, both her legs gone, one of her arms, her ear, she has bionic hearing. And so they repair her, right? But she rejects the bionics in her system, right? So it's like what they have to do is she like loses her memory and stuff, but as she remembers her, her past and her relationship with Steve Austin, she starts rejecting the bionics and it's like killing her. So they have to she has to forget about Steve Austin, so there's this tragic moment where in order to let the Bionic Woman live, he has to end the relationship. And then she's hooking up with her rehab doctor, which is even more painful for Steve, but he has to do what's best for the Bionic Woman. And that was allowing her to have her own spin-off series. And so he did. So hail to chauvinist Lee Majors. Luffy as God says, I like the Hulk. See, a lot of people would probably put Hulk 181 up here, first appearance of Wolverine, but I did not care about the X-Men at all. In fact, I still don't. I kind of like the Wolverine a little bit, but I did like X-Factor, which had the original X-Men in it, because Louise was writing it. Wheezy Simonson was writing it and was fantastic. And then Simonson jumped on board and, so I was reading that monthly. But other X-Men books, nope, never got into it. So that's why Giant Size X-Men #1 isn't on here or any of that other stuff. There's a ton of comics like Giant Size Spider-Man #1 where Dracula guest stars. That's a good one. Anything with Spider-Man, you could pick a number of Spider-Man issues out of the 70s that were really, really good. First appearance of Morbius, the living vampire. Spider-Man 100, the 6-armed Spider-Man. I think that was 1971. That was one of my favorite story arcs too. So it's just, let's see. Not only that killing killing Gwen was Romita's idea. Jerry Conway was only 19 years old. So it was Romita's idea. Conway was writing Spider-Man at 19 years old. That's pretty impressive. Andy says, Dennis is driving and dissing the X-Men puts my life in danger. Thanks. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the X-Men. I'm just saying I was never into the X-Men. That's not dissing the X-Men. So settle down, Dennis. I'm just saying that just because you were someone who followed the crowd and said, oh, everybody's reading X-Men, I guess I should too. I defied the crowd and said, no, you guys are doing it. I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly why. I was a contrarian even when I was young. Okay. So that's kind of fun. There you go. There's my top 5 70s books. Next week, we'll be doing my top 5 80s books. But right now, I want to show you guys something that I think is interesting. Look at this. My sticker came off. What the heck? This hat has been so abused. I think I've worn it every day for like 2 years. Good as new. Okay. So let's take a look at my flat files today so I can show you. Well, I'll run the intro first and then I'll tell you what I'm doing. Baby. Okay. I pulled out a stack of drawings I've never finished. And I probably can't even explain why. Now I'm going to switch my camera here and hope it doesn't explode. Let's see. Survey said, oh, there we go. There's return to big nothing. Okay. Let's take a look. Because I like, I'll draw something. I don't like throwing artwork away unless it just really, really sucks, which I've done before, but not rarely do I do that. So, oh, look at this. I bought this Kiritaki 3-piece pen set. The hard brush tip, fine, fine gray, and extra fine. So I'm going to try these out. Now, Art of Roy recommended these. Then Dan Fraga also recommended them. And I thought, okay, well, everybody's recommending these. I'd better try it. So these just showed up today. And I also ordered a brush pen from these guys. So I'll be trying these out very soon. Okay, so a lot of times I'll start drawing a commission or something. I'll get like partially through it. And I don't like the way this looks. And I just stop. And, just leave it. But I won't throw it away because I think maybe I'll revisit it. And a lot of times these things end up looking better after I've, been sitting there for a couple of years. So here's a Wonder Woman. Looking at it now, I'm kind of like, why didn't I like this? I don't know. It looks okay to me. Oh, wait a minute. We've got a problem in the chat. I got to take care of this right now. Randy says Aaron could ink with arm hair. Ink with this, Randy. Okay. Just got to make sure that guys maintain some level of self-control in the chat. So I don't know. I mean, but there they sit. So this is something I could pick up at any time and work on again. Now look at this. Yeah, that's Galactus, folks. And he's like halfway done. And I abandoned it because I felt it was like a straight on shot. It was just too predictable. So I redid this commission from a higher angle looking down on him. And it is a better piece, but there's nothing wrong with this piece. There's just, so there it sits unfinished. This is the Invisible Girl. Or Invisible Woman, or whatever she's called. I don't know why I didn't like it. Just didn't really do it for me. So I redrew it. And so this was another commission that was never finished. You guys remember from Graybeards when I was messing around like a year ago with Count Chocula. So I was trying all these Count Chocula things, and I didn't mind this one, but I don't know. His head needs to be bigger or something. I don't know. Maybe his hair needs to be bigger or something. But I ended up doing a different one instead. And then there this lies. Now there's Kit on the back of some weird alien dude. I think I was going to finish this. This may have ended up in the Kit Carter sketchbook. I can't even remember. I'd have to go look now. It may have, but for some reason I was just like, eh. Okay, now here, it's a Captain America piece I was doing. I didn't like it at the time because I thought it was kind of dull, but I kind of like it now. This is one of the ones I keep thinking I should go in and finish this. It just wasn't very dynamic, so I just kind of just too complacent, not interesting enough. But now I kind of like it, so I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and I keep saying that every time I look at these, I'm like, oh, I should go back and finish that. And then I never do. All right, look at this. Look how far I got on this. This is going to be, I don't remember what I was going to use this for, but I had done a piece in my sketchbook, which I believe the color piece is actually in the Kit Carter sketchbook. In fact, I'm almost positive it is. But it was done in marker and it was kind of rough. And I wanted to do a refined one that included Merv. So it's a redo of one that, but then I got halfway through it and I was like, maybe I was going to turn this into a print. And I thought, I don't know if this is a great print idea. And so I left it, just as I started inking it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think I was going to make this into a print, and then I decided to bail on it at the last minute. Zaid Comics, that's Phil Diaz, speaking of Merv the Astro Chimp, for $5. Thank you so much. He says, do you hear Al Ewing us writing a new Metamorpho series? Your thoughts? Did you hear Al Ewing is writing a new Metamorpho series? Your thoughts? Trying to remember who Al Ewing is. I remember who J.R. Ewing is. Al Ewing, I know that name. I'll go check, Phil, and then I will give you my thoughts on it. But of course, I redid Metamorpho for them for DC, and they didn't use any of it, which kind of ticked me off because actually I thought I explained what was a very weird and mysterious origin. Without changing the origin, I just explained how it all worked. And I don't know. What are you going to do? I got a trade paperback, though. So, okay, this is a Wonder Woman, and the body's okay. I don't know. Maybe the head's too small. I'm not sure why I abandoned this one either. That hair needs to be bigger up here. Like that. I don't know. I mean, the figure's fine. I don't know. It's a mystery, folks. It's a mystery. Now this is a barbarian chick that I've been talking about potentially doing a Savage Tales magazine, like a black and white magazine with barbarian stuff in it. Although Paul Taylor keeps saying, if it's not in color, I'm not going to buy it. So I'm like, oh, if Paul's not going to buy it, I can't do it. But this is one of the characters. In fact, I believe that I did a print, and I know I did a print, I don't believe I did, called Freya of the Ice Kingdom, and it has her standing over a dead Yeti that she just disposed of. So I do have a story for it, but, once again, drew it, and there it sits. Okay, here was another print idea. It's kind of this zombie guy carrying off this maiden in distress. This was originally going to be for, if you guys remember, the Emerald City Comic Con used to have an art book where people would contribute color pieces, and the funds that they raised would go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So I contributed several pieces to that over the years. That's what this was going to be. And I just couldn't get the creature, the look satisfactory to me. Even though the girl is, I think it's pretty good. But, I mean, I still think it'd be a decent piece if I finished it. I just never finished it. Here's one of the early layouts for the Kit Carter movie poster, which some of you have received, and many of you will be receiving soon. It's not what I ended up using, but it was one of the early designs for it. Headless Bourgeoisie says he will back a Freya comic. Okay. Now this, remember that I don't speak ill of the dead, but the John Cassidy Wolverine cover that got a lot of recently, that got a lot of bad press. I believe we were on Comicsgate Kings, and I was like, draw a better version, and so we all sort of like did our own version of the John Cassidy cover, and that's what this is. Old Man says, I love Aaron's female figures. Also, monsters are superb. Classic Beauty and the Beast. Thank you, sir. Geek for 5. Thank you, sir. I used to attend the invitation-only live art events at ECCC, where they had the live DJ. Those events were great. I never went to any parties because I was too busy sitting in my hotel room sketching, probably. Jeff Potts, when will you do a fantasy comic, Aaron? No pressure. More than likely, you may see it right after Wraith of God 3. So hang on to your hats. All right, now this is really good. And I just need to ink it. And I haven't done it. But I really like this. This one has a good chance of getting finished. I wonder if did I do another one like this that was almost exactly the same, and maybe that's why I didn't do it. It's because I don't know. But there it is. I should finish it. I just never got around to it. But all that needs to be is inked. And I don't, for the life of me, have no idea why I did this Kit Carter piece. But here it says penciled only. Past Master Dan is a little confused. Hopefully this will get his mind right. I hate tech, and I believe that Past Master Dan knows that I hate tech. Okay, now this is that Chun-Li girl or whatever from Street Fighter with the thunder thighs. Again, this is not a bad piece. I don't know. Maybe your thighs are a little bit too jacked. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't finish it. Maybe I should. Chun-Li. Remember old Chun-Li? Look at those thighs. My gosh, they'd crush you. GJ Martinez says, Aaron LaPresse, do you draw tech so well? Why do you hate it? If I draw tech well, that's because I ripped it off from somebody else. Geek Avenger says, there's nothing wrong with girls with strong thighs. We should commission Aaron to do an Alpha Flight picture. Alpha Flight. That's Andy's department, man. Andy loves Alpha Flight. Yeah, Howard Roy says, leaving all that money sitting in a drawer. I know I should finish these. I should. I don't even know what this is. Was this on Graybeards? And I think it was. And then I just abandoned it because I didn't like how it looked. So this was like an image character. It's not Sabretooth. It's some weird Rob Liefeld character, I think. I don't have any idea, but I didn't like it, so I bailed on it. Now, this is another Freya piece of the Ice Kingdom. As I was messing around with her costume and started painting it and never finished it. I have, again, not a great explanation of why I haven't finished it, but I have not finished it. Andy says, Dennis has hung your Kit Carter poster and loves it. He has great taste then. You tell Dennis he has great taste. Thank you so much for that, though. I do appreciate it. Oh, is that another Street Fighter character? Could have been. I have no freaking idea. All right. So, and another Graybeards thing, I don't know. I did this, the Steranko thing. I don't know. It seemed a little posy to me. It was, what was that character's name? He was going to do a Talon. And I didn't like it. So I started working on the other side here. And I did this kind of Conan head here, which is kind of cool right there. And then this was Talon. And I don't know. I didn't like it either. I can't really tell you why at this point, but so that remains unfinished. But there you go. So that's all the stuff that's sitting right in a flat file drawer over here that I have yet to finish. I'll show you one other thing since we were talking about Wraith of God 3. This is the pencil for page 2 that I'm working on right now. So this is a character called the Master. And we saw him for 2 pages in Blood Hunters, menacing the sheriff from the first Wraith of God. And he had this just a red robe on, but I've kind of I'm dressing it up a little bit. But there's the rough as he barges in the witch's hovel to confront her at the very beginning of the story. So I am working on it, folks. I am working on it. There you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what's in my flat file today. And now we return to your regular programming. The Master was a really bad TV show starring Lee Van Cleef. Okay. I'm always stealing stuff that I don't know I'm stealing. He looks like a character from the 60s spy. He does not, Paul. Prove it. Find the character and show me. Let's see. Toshiro says he can't believe Trump is streaming over me. The nerve. Well, I forgive him. You know, that's what reruns are for. You can always come back and watch me. Paul Taylor challenge. Okay, prove it. Dig it up, man. Major Corn Dog wants to know, where's your next con? I don't know. I know for sure I'll be in San Diego again because I already paid for the booth. But a guy that runs some East Coast and Midwest cons has invited me out. But I wanted to make sure, you know, Shelly was healthy and everything before I left for a few days. So I might be doing something in the spring, but when I do know, I will let you know. I might do Washington State SummerCon again if I were invited. I had a good time there. I can say China. Chocolates Curry says, I confess I've also been watching Trump. That's okay. She'll bring me chocolate again if I go to the Washington State SummerCon. I liked it. The food was great. And that's all I care about is food. So, Darren Wagner for 2. Why did you make the Kit Carter comic oversized? Because you see, he's like secretly complaining because it won't fit in his comic box. Here's the thing. See these? These were part of the Marvel graphic novel series in the 80s. Okay. And they were all 8.5 by 11. So me being the nostalgia freak that I am, I always wanted to do one of these, but they quit doing them by the time I got into the industry. So I never got to do one. So I decided to do Kit Carter as in the same format as the Marvel graphic novel series in the 80s. Once again, nostalgia driving everything I do. Because I don't love modern comics. I don't even like modern comics. My love for comics started back in a more simpler time. The 70s and the 80s. And a little bit in the 60s, although I didn't read comics in the 60s, but I did retroactively. And so those were the stuff that makes me enjoy comics, is going back in a time capsule, if you will, and bringing up some of those old memories. And that's what kind of keeps me going, because modern comics, I just can't stand. So So that's why. So I know that the Kit Carter book does not fit in a comic box, but it's meant to fit on your bookshelf or your coffee table. That's what it's really designed for. And also, again, to harken back to me finally getting to do an 8.5 by 11 large format graphic novel, which I never got to do. It's sad. I gotta wipe the tear away. All right. Paul Taylor says the Fifth Avenue Phantom. Let's see if we can find this character and see if I'm ripping off Fifth Avenue Phantom Spider-Man. Okay, here we go. What? Lame. All right, let me. Okay, hang on a second now. Here he is sitting and contemplating life as we know it. I don't see any resemblance whatsoever, but I understand that Paul is a biologist and he's Canadian, so he may see things differently than I do. But let's take a look at this. Here you go. Seriously? Come on, man. That's Joe Biden. Come on, man. I don't see anything. He doesn't have the collar. He doesn't. Look, he's got sandals on, for crying out loud. I reject this completely. Oh, thanks, Roy. He says, nah, I'd say it looks closer to a Scooby-Doo villain. Here, maybe this will adjust your vision. Okay, maybe now you can see things clearly. Look at, see, the crowd's turning on you, Paul. Not even close, Paul. See? There you go. Come on, man. See, Paul, everybody's turned against you. Sequential Treasures doesn't agree with you either. All right, Paul. Okay, nice try. Nice try, but it did not work. So does Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom has a hood. The Spectre has a hood. Come on, man. All right, let's get this show moving before I lose my cool. All right, it's time for exploration into art. I have to admit, I just discovered who Henry Patrick Raleigh was, or is. He's no longer with us, but here's a shot of the guy. He's got some fancy boots on. I got him credit for that. Do you think guys really painted back then, painted in ties and like boots and stuff, or would he just put this on for the picture? And they said, okay, now hold a brush like you're going to do something. And you got your pipe in your hand. So he has a brush in one hand and a pipe in the other. Let's see if we can learn a little bit about old Henry Patrick Raleigh. Henry Patrick Raleigh was a superb natural draftsman in the classic tradition of F.R. Kruger and Wallace Morgan, who I don't know who either one of those are. He was a star during the golden age of American illustration, that is from 1900 to 1930. His graceful, fluid drawings, usually of crowded social scenes, were done in line, wash, or colored inks and seemed to flow from his fingertips. Well, let's take a look at some of his work. I did find it pretty interesting, though. It's like a lot of charcoal drawing and then color over the top, or just charcoal drawings. Like this one. Very loose, and yet very interesting, very well drawn, but very loose. So now this is interesting. He was born of Irish parents in Portland, Oregon. How about that? He later moved to San Francisco at the age of 12 and got a job as a shipping clerk in a coffee shop in order to help support his mother and sister. Now, the head of the coffee place became impressed by his drawing ability and sent him to Hopkins Academy in San Francisco to study art. what employer would do that these days? You know, at 17, he was hired by the San Francisco Chronicle as a club reporter artist, covering such assignments as fires, floods, and promising young corpses. That's in the quotes. At the morgue to illustrate the latest murder or suicide. Oh, goodness. He later did graphic reporting on the Spanish-American War and Klondike Gold Rush. How about that? By 19, he was working for the San Francisco Examiner, William Randolph Hearst's favorite newspaper, as one of their highest paid artists at age 19. From there, it was just a short step to New York and work on Hearst's journal and assignment on other magazines. How about that? That's what we call a success at a very young age. Let's see what else this guy's got for us. Here's a nice little charcoal drawing. Again, very loose in the background. Actually, all of it's very loose, but the gesture and the visual storytelling is very strong in these. But it's so funny because we would look at this now and say, oh, this is one of my roughs. He would basically draw this and then it would either stand as it is here or he would, use colored inks or what have you over the top of it to finish it. Very interesting. The craft he learned as a newspaper reporter required a keen eye, a remarkable memory, and a sense of something about to happen. Raleigh realized the importance of his experience when he said contemporary illustrators might consider with some envy the perspective genius of their predecessors, whose contact with life was intimate before the camera and its secondhand authority. Wow. Could anybody you know today put a sentence together like that? I couldn't. A natural draftsman, he disdained the camera. How about that? His exposure through vast combined circulation of the Post, Harper's Bazaar, and Hearst's International made him famous, and his prolific production made him wealthy. He was able to indulge in his fondness for yachts and travel. To Raleigh, it says in quotes, travel restored the fresh childlike enthusiasm, naivete, and spontaneity, which is absolutely necessary if art is going to mean anything. This guy was a deep thinker. I like that. I used to be a deep thinker. Now I rarely think. But when I was in college and just out of college, I was a very deep thinker. Here's another piece. Very nice. Look at that very limited color, but there's a little bit. There's a little bit of rosiness in her cheeks. This guy's got a little red there. Look at that. A little bit of red, brown there. Looks like this was done on a sepia tone paper. You can see it kind of showing through here. Looks like some white pencil, probably. A lot of these were, of course, illustrated stories, which was the big thing that everybody did back in the day. Let's see here. A serious etcher, too. He produced many fine plates. He was awarded the Shaw Prize for illustration from the Salmagunde Club in 1916. And the gold... Wait a minute. When was he born again? Doesn't say, does it? So 1916. He wasn't that old. I can tell you that. Home to Raleigh was what is now the famous artist colony of Westport, Connecticut. He, George Wright, Frederick Dorr Steele, and Rose O'Neill helped pioneer that area's popularity. However, Raleigh spent a large part of his life in seclusion in his Gramercy Park studio. That sounds like me, the seclusion part. It was in the Illustration a Day studio that he distinguished himself by his ability to depict a large group of people in an interior with refinement and grace. His classic campaign for Maxwell House Coffee, commissioned by the J. Walter Thompson Advertising Agency, depicted dramatic scenes of Southern antebellum society set in elaborate homes, meaning after the war. That's what antebellum means. Although it's become a racist term now, just after the war somehow is racist. It's crazy. Raleigh believed, and his drawings prove, that illustrators are artists in the broadest sense of the word. His newspaper experience and its discipline, his appreciation for Forain and Damir's incisive interpretation of character, all helped to develop his individual work. Now here comes the, I'll read the sad ending here. We bring up another piece. Here's a nice color piece. I like this. Has a lot of energy to it. Look at that. Look at that vibrant color. Now these apparently were dyes over the top of the charcoal. Look how, this is like very detailed, and how it just kind of washes out. And even her face is a little bit, and these guys back here, they're just unimportant. This is the moment right here. They focus right on that. Okay, here's the tragic ending to this story. His fame brought sadness to the story of his outstanding artist. He lived a lifestyle he thought would never end. Don't we all? No, I've never had a good lifestyle. I'm always afraid what little I have is going to end. But while he delineated a social scene of gaiety and elegance, he himself grew morose and introverted, unable to adapt to illustration's new market. Isn't that always the way it goes? These brilliant illustrators, they just fall out of favor. And even us that aren't that great fall out of favor. And not willing to accept the social mores of the late 30s and 40s, his spirit cracked. And in 1944, Raleigh took his own life. Wow. His art, however, has never paled, and he remains a giant from the era of the golden age of American illustration. And I had never heard of him. Wow. Tragic tale. You got to wonder, though, how many people, artists during that period of time, other than Rockwell, who never seemed to fall out of favor stylistically, Leyendecker, same thing happened to Leyendecker. He died in poverty, couldn't get a job. As brilliant as he was, his style was out of style, and he couldn't get any work. It's amazing. Look at that one. That's nice. Again, very limited palette. I love this whole gesture and, this dramatic scene going on here. You got a little pink on the pillow and then this pink in the background. It's very interesting. I like looking at this stuff because it's not like a lot of stuff we've seen. Here's another nice color piece. Wow, that sucks. Oh my goodness. You can see this kind of look in this guy's face, kind of a Gibson-esque look, which would have been, turn of the century, 1900s. And it's funny, if you look at guys in commercial art through different generations, they have similar approaches to style. And this is kind of the Gibson and the kind of Leyendecker-ish kind of face, like on this guy and this girl here. It was very interesting. Very different styles, and yet they still had they had similarities in their approaches to drawing what characters look like and stuff. This is interesting. This looks like a turn of the century book illustration, which it probably is. But again, incredibly loose, right? But the figure work's very nice, but incredibly loose. I mean, we'd never get away with using this as a finished drawing. This is I suppose you could if you sold somebody on this as your style, but we look at this as like a rough. Like, is this a rough for his painting? And then you look for the finished painting, but this was his finished work. And it's just, I don't know, it's just really cool. It's sort of, this is a little bit more refined, but even in the dress, it's kind of loose. I love her face and her hair. And this looks very charcoal-y. through here. You know, very loose, but this up here is just really, really tight. Great face. Nice gesture. It used to be about drawing, you know? Used to be all about drawing. Now this is I don't know who this is, but real nice portrait here. Some young lady. This is all nice. Look at that line work in here for shading. Look how loose this dress and everything gets. You know, her hand is a little tighter, but this is just incredible to me how loose this is. Her face is just so sharp and clean. I mean, again, that's where you want your focus to be. Oh, that's a great drawing, though. You can see that little bit of Gibson or Clement Cole in what he's doing here. So there definitely was a style these guys were working in that was, you know, contemporary to the times that they lived in, because they do have similarities. A lot of these guys from, you know, the same eras have similarities in their look. This is totally Gibson girl, but more refined than Gibson would have done it. I love this piece. But again, look how loose the painting in this hat is, or her bonnet, you know, and this in here. Beautiful face, right? Very sharp, accurate. Hair gets a little loose, then all this just gets really loose. So your focus, man, is right here on this face. And that's exactly where it should be. The portrait of Lady Henry Patrick. Is that his wife? Oh, no, Portrait of a Lady, I see, by Henry Patrick Raleigh. That's an oil painting? BS if that's an oil painting. That's pretty thin oil painting. If that's oils, man. You really laid that on thin. Like a wash. I love that piece, though. That's my favorite piece, I think. Anyway, there you go. He does have a book on his work. You can go to Amazon and check that out. It's Henry Patrick Raleigh is who we were looking at. Grey Wolf, dropping a little knowledge on us. You've heard that Evelyn Nesbit was the original Gibson girl. How about that? Okay. Yes, most of this was charcoal. Somewhere of Time, of course, the romantic Christopher Reeve movie with Jane Seymour. Time travel movie with a tragic ending. But it had sort of a weird tragic ending, but a happy ending, but tragic at the same time. Spoilers. Nah, look, I won't ruin it for you. If you haven't seen Time After Time, is that what it's called? No, it's called Somewhere in Time. You know, I went and saw it because Christopher Reeve was in it. He just done Superman. So it was like, oh, Superman. And it was actually pretty good, you know, for a romance, for a human drama. Paul Taylor says it was Jane Seymour at her hottest, right after she did Battlestar Galactica. I don't even remember her doing that. It didn't say he did the Coca-Cola ads. It did say that he did the coffee ads. Not Folgers. Who did I say it was? I just read it. Maxwell House coffee ads. So that was pretty big time too. All right, guys. This has been a fabulous show so far, but it's about to get even more fabulous. But first, let's take a moment. What the heck happened to my... That's just freaking outrageous. All right, here we go. Nothing like on-air silence to really get your audience interested. Okay. Let's take a moment for a commercial break. Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. That is what I'm pushing today, folks, and every day. I'm also, as I said, shipping out Kit Carter, Planet Doom. I did like 40 packages this morning. I'm going to do some more tonight. Most of them going out to our Canadian friends and a few in Australia and a few in the US, mixing it up a little bit. Supposed to be getting the hardcovers this week. I will double check on that tomorrow. I tried to get confirmation on Friday, wasn't able to get it. So we will, I will have word for you. I'll have word for you tomorrow on that. And I'll send out an update. So $59,698 is where we're at. We need to get 60,000 for the next stretch goal. Okay, so this is Wraith of God number 3, Fear Hollow. The Wraith and Esther face off against the Headless Horseman, a terror from the Wraith's youth. So we get a little flashback, get a little more information about the Wraith's past. You have 4 cover options. Of course, this is cover A. Cover B is the tribute to EC. Cover C is the Marvel 1972 retro cover. And then, of course, the fabulous painted cover by Chris Stevens. At 100K, we get the stretch goal of getting a David Williams backup story featuring one of my characters, Impyrus. It's his origin story. But in the interim, you can order Wraith of God Nouveau print. It's 11 by 17, signed and numbered, limited to 500, and that is it. Get the Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3. It's 48 pages of layouts, page layouts that go into the making of the graphic novel. And if you're a drinker or just a glass collector, make sure you get the Nightclub shot glass. It's number 4 in a series of 6 shot glasses featuring logos from different IPs that I have here at Empire Comics. You can get a set of poker chips. It's just 3 poker chips, more of a commemorative set. The Wraith, Esther, and Keon's Werewolf. And if you're behind in your reading, you can get Wraith of God 1, a second printing with a new cover, or Wraith of God 2, Blood Hunters, the wraparound cover. You will find a link in the description of this video that'll take you right to this campaign to back. And you'll also find a link to my website where you can find all sorts of other fun and good stuffs, including tons of artwork to look at if you're so inclined. But thank you for your time and for your patronage. Appreciate it very much. It's Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow. All righty, guys. It's about that time. So ready yourself. Mentally prepare yourself for what you're about to see. Is it bad form to take a second brownie? Because I'm doing it. Good eats. All righty. Okay. Now we're going to start slow and build, because I don't want to give you the best at the first, right? Now, this I call roadside Bigfoot. Make of it what you will. Up. This looks like just a regular suburban area. Someplace you might see a deer, but would you see Bigfoot just standing there taking a whiz on the side of the road, which is apparently what he's doing. Can we gather anything from this? Okay, I love how they're telling us that it's 7 feet tall because, well, I can tell it's 7 foot tall. Give me a break. We don't even know if that's not a cardboard cutout. I mean, it's not moving at all. NPC Oasis may have it. Dude with hands in a pocket in a hoodie. Moromi says cut out. JG Martinez says that's not Bigfoot. That's a shadow person. The proportions are all wrong. You know, that sounds like a line from Star Trek. Metabolism's off. Heartbeat's all wrong. Jim, this man's a Klingon. This man's a cutout. This man's a cardboard cutout. I think this is a pretty bad video, and I think the whole thing's fake. That's what I think. But I have more for you. More to challenge your intellect than just that. Now, this one I call snowing Bigfoot. Now, Bigfoot isn't snowing, but it is snowing where Bigfoot is. All right, let's take a look here. Snowing, that I can verify. Where is he? There he is. The casual stroll has me a little put off on this one. I mean, who's to say that Bigfoot wouldn't casually stroll? But I got a feeling that he might not casually stroll, that he might be more number 12. Let's take a look at this again. That's a pretty casual stroll, but I give him credit for doing it on a snowy day. Because if that's a dude in a costume, which we're going to assume it is, it's got to be cold out. So his friends are like, dude, it'll be more authentic if we do it in the snow. However, it would be more authentic if we could get a performance out of the guy wearing the suit. Who keeps telling these guys to put these suits on and just walk? You're Bigfoot. Get into character. Give me something. Leg kick, very good point. Too many videos of Bigfoot strolling for it not to be real. Darren Wagner, there's no such thing as a Bigfoot expert, but I'm a Bigfoot expert. About 90% of recent Bigfoot footage are definite hoaxes. Yeah, you don't get to go to school to get a degree in cryptozoology. That is something that you self-proclaim. And I have done enough study just on this show that I consider myself a cryptozoologist because I have interest in stuff that isn't real. So a cryptozoologist is someone who's an expert in things that aren't real. That's me. That is definitely me. Angela Curries agrees. It's definitely snowing. Old man, good point. The snowing Bigfoot is grandpa wandering away from the house. He just wants some peace and quiet away from grandma. Could be. That's exactly it. What is my motivation? You know, you've got to give a performance. You have to. Now, Darren Wagner says, yes, I've done enough research for Demifoot. Not sure what that is. To call myself a cryptozoologist, but I would not deign to call myself one. Why not? It's a made-up term for a made-up science. I say we should all call ourselves cryptozoologists. What do they say on like Ancient Aliens? Alien experts. Alien experts? Alien experts? I know I'm incredibly cynical. I know, but come on, man. All right, here we go. All right, now this is, I kind of like this one. We call this Bigfoot in the bush. Now some movement would be good. Here we go. Oh, there he is. Do you see him? There he is. It's like Monkey Man. Now, the problem I have with this is if it was some sort of creature, wouldn't it, like when you show the light on it, wouldn't it kind of like take off and not just sit there in the grass? I don't know. I mean, I guess a deer in headlights, right? They just kind of stand there. But this guy's moving around and walking around and shining light on it. I would think if this was a real creature, it might get a little defensive or scared and perhaps run away. As our friends from Monty Python would say, run away, run away. Can't really identify those trees. Does this look kind of like a tropical area, like Florida or something, maybe? Not really sure. Angela Curry, not buying it. Citizen Ron says that is a dude in a mask, which you could make a drinking game out of every time they say it. There you go. Look at that. There you go, Darren Wagner. Let's give Darren Wagner a little plug. He says, Demifoot is my forthcoming Indiegogo campaign. Bigfoot as a superhero. Sign up is now available. That would be on Indiegogo. So Demifoot by Darren Wagner. Check that out. Jeff is like buying. He says, that is so real. That's what I was thinking. That mask, the face looks very flat. The eyes are glued on. They never twitch or close. No, that boo is for scared. Oh, okay. But John Porton says, but Bigfoot is real. Okay. Angela Curry's booing everybody right now. Okay, so that was Bigfoot in the bush. But now let's take a look at a Bigfoot crossing. Now, there's no sign up. But again, I'm calling this because he's crossing the path, I believe, is why I called it this. Let's see what you make of this. Here we go. Where is he at? Okay, so here we go. Here's a path. Guy's riding his bike. And, oh, there's some college football. What happened? Okay, here we go. That looks like that's a USC versus Rutgers. It was. What happened there? Maybe I was watching that while I was taping this, and maybe I flipped the screen accidentally. Okay, so here we go. Okay, well, that's not even a good photograph. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. That's the $6 million man. Look, he's doing it in slow motion. That's a guy in a costume. Look at him run with the big arm swings. I mean, I want to go back to the USC game. Yay. No, I would like those arms like jumping up and down like a monkey or something, maybe. This is a dude running in a costume. That is so obvious. Now, the guy crashed in his bike because he wanted us to believe that he was startled, right? So, see, he's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Ah! There's probably poison oak in there. He's probably sorry he did that. Yeah, the costume looks baggy, especially around the legs. Again, really horrible performance. Horrible. Sequential Treasure says, well, I'll say this. That Bigfoot seems more real than Kamala's claim to having worked at McDonald's. Well, now you might be onto something. GJ says, that's Kelsey running back to his house because he needed to finish coloring Kit Carter. Where is Kelsey? Will we ever see him again? Victor says poison oak. Yeah, there's poison oak and poison ivy. They both do the same thing. We have poison oak around these parts. Citizen Ronan says it looks like he's wearing trash bags. Yeah, that was weak. That was a weak effort. Now we're going to get to the Rocky Mountain Bigfoot. This, I think, is actually okay. So this was in the Rocky Mountains someplace. There's no John Denver appearances. Here we go. That's pretty clear. Look at that. That's pretty clear. I give him credit for that. See, there he is walking around back in there. Okay, watch him come through. Again, it's strolling Bigfoot, though. That's what kills me about this. It's just I don't think these things work. I think these are a scam. Okay, but anyway, back to Bigfoot. It's that Bigfoot stroll that kind of puts me off. And quit bumping the camera around, Judas Priest. He's got a big old ape butt, so I'll give him credit for that. A little padding there. Why do these guys, when they're filming Bigfoot, always for like 5 seconds film the ground instead of keeping Bigfoot in the camera sights? Okay, we don't need to see the shark again. It's not a good shot of him, except that very first shot right here where he comes out of this clearing. Now he's kind of up, like maybe he was down on his knees. I mean, this isn't horrible, you know? This might do you a little double take. Green Laser says these 5 seconds were when Bigfoot was smoking. Well, the audio, I don't play the audio because I don't want to get dinged, but there is audio. Although I was listening to a football game, so I think the audio is me listening to the football game. He walks like an old dude. Daytime equals double fake. John Porton, of course, talking about Roombas suck and do it better than some other vacuums. Okay. Angela Curry says, is Garbage Man wearing a coat? Yeah. What about Garbage Man sightings, huh? Elemental MJ says, the average person is horrendous at filming, is my theory. Well, when it comes to Bigfoot videos, it's standard operating procedures to bounce the camera so you can't get a good look. Footage captured by robot vacuum by old man. Good. Moromi, too much shaking with all the stabilization with cameras now. Well, I remember I told you guys before how they do this. They shoot it and it's perfectly clear, and then they use a program to bounce it up and blur it up so you can't see it as well. That's a typical Bigfoot tomfoolery trick. All right, this is my favorite one. It's short, but it's called Bigfoot Attack. At least that's what I call it. It's kind of scary. I liked it. You don't have much to go on, but maybe just enough. See what you guys think. It's a windy night around the street light. No Bigfoot is going to be hanging around the street. Okay, here we go. Look at it. See, he goes up on Bigfoot, but now watch this. Come on, where are you? There it is. Oh, Bigfoot Attack. And the guy's looking at the sky. Okay, now here's the problem. The guy walks in front of this camera. So it's like, ooh. Okay, we're going to get a close-up of this face. Look at that. This isn't horrible. I kind of like this. Now, this could be completely all digitally done. You know, the way it's sort of, I don't know, blurry and moving in and out. Okay, so you got Bigfoot walking through the woods, right? At night. This guy's right up on it, right? So let's go back. Let me show you this Okay, it's right here. The guy walks right there in front of his own camera. So who's filming him? See? Right there, that guy walks right in front of the camera. So there's obviously a guy filming and then a guy walking in front of the camera right there. So you give if it's real, this guy is really ballsy because it's the middle of the night and he's 10 feet or less away from Bigfoot, but then he gets attacked, right? So if he got attacked, I'm sure we would have heard something about it, which of course we haven't. So, which leads me to believe it's all fakery, but I love that. Like close shot of that Bigfoot face right there. Now, what they could have done here, if you opened that mouth and give us some fangs or something, that would have really been scary. NPCOA says it's bad AI with some practical effects. You're probably right. We're still waiting for that, aren't we? Did you guys ever see the Jeff Goldblum? I think it was a TV movie and then got released theatrical like at some point too. It was a TV movie with Jeff Goldblum and the Headless Horseman and Dick Butkus. Oh God, who used to be a football player for the Chicago Bears, linebacker, played Brom Bones. He was horrible in it. Jeff Goldblum was fine. I mean, he can act, but the scenes were not particularly frightening. The Headless Horseman scenes. The Disney version is still the best one, I think, that I've seen. Like, I thought it was Aaron hopping out of the shower. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Let's see here. Jeff Potts says, if I recall, the guy ran up to Bigfoot and got his autograph. Okay, you might be onto something there. Okay, so I just did. I was just on their show like a week and a half ago. It was actually a lot of fun. They have like cool special effects. Yeah, you guys, you just struck a chord today and started blasting people. Dick Butkus may be a national treasure, but he's a suck actor, or was. I don't think he's with us anymore, is he? Is he still alive? He might be. We used to make that joke all the time. You know, how often do you think he heard that growing up, and how many guys do you have to beat up in the process of hearing that? He was University of Illinois. I know my football. He was great, but I'm just saying he was a bad actor, and that's the truth. You know who should have changed his name? That race car driver named Dick Trickle. That's bad. All righty, guys. That's all I got for you. So we ended with Bigfoot attack, which I thought was somewhat compelling anyway. Someday when you least expect it, I will, of course, be filming my own Bigfoot video, and you guys will be amazed at how realistic it is. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I thank you for the super chats, everybody, and the conversation. I'll make sure I didn't forget anybody. And okay, there we go. Yeah, just make sure I'm checking. So I want to, let me go back and do that again. Let me thank everybody for joining me this evening. It's been grand fun, as it always is on Sunday afternoon evenings. This is Aaron Live. Please hit the like and subscribe if you have not done so already. It helps the channel grow and allows me to continue giving you content like this that you can't find anyplace else. And that's the one unique thing I can say. Please remember to back Wraith of God number 3, Fear Hollow, if you haven't done so already. The link is in the description of this video, along with a link to my website. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, evening, and enjoy the rest of your week coming up. And I will see you on the airwaves very soon. Oh, join us on Graybeards on Wednesday, because John Malin will be in the house. How about that? So that should be quite an exciting little adventure. So thank you all. Good night, and we'll see you next time.